So I thought it was only appropriate this morning that we talk about mothers. And I thought it would be appropriate not to just talk about mothers, but to talk about what is it about mothers? What is it about this motherhood? And so we're going to explore awakening the divine feminine. And I know that Veronica came in here and she did this whole thing on Wonder Woman and all of that, but I'm going to give it a little bit different perspective. I'm going to give it the perspective from the male point of view, who's been spending his conscious part of his life awakening a side of me that I was taught to repress. Do you understand that? That most men are taught to repress the feminine aspects of who they are. From the time you are born, that repression goes in. And then, in a lot of cases that happens. In a lot of cases, women are taught what? To revert, the reverse. And then you get into the world and you don't know what's going on today because there's no traditional female-male role anymore. Everything is sort of reconfiguring itself, redesigning itself, recoming. So I thought, let's look at the individual qualities that we can identify with this thing called the divine feminine. The first one is the divine feminine is to nurture. What is a nurturer? A nurturer is like a gardener. It's someone who plants the seed, tills the soil around it. When there's weeds, it takes the weeds up. It puts nutrients in the ground. It makes sure that there's water. That's what the divine feminine is. So the divine feminine can be in any human being. If there's something that you're desiring to grow, a consciousness, awareness, a business, a family, whatever it is you're trying to grow, the ability to nurture that is what allows it to grow. But you see, if you do not have the nurturing tendency or that quality within you, guess what happens? And you don't nurture the thought. You kill it with what? Logic. The man comes in. What is the male? The male's the intellectual, the rational. And what does it do? It kills the dream. It doesn't nurture it. There's a place for the male. We'll get into that on Father's Day. But right now we're talking about the divine feminine. So the ability to nurture is important. And sometimes nurturing may not be all that gentle. That reflects me back to when Jean and I were raising teenagers. Sometimes it meant knowing that you have a value that you were not willing to compromise on. And here's the value, is that your job as a parent, the most important thing is you keep your children safe. That's one of the primary things in nurturing. You've got to keep your children as safe as possible. Now, you want them to make mistakes. Don't get me wrong. It's not coddling them. It's not holding them back. But there are certain times in their teenagers, they may make a decision to do something that you know is wrong. And in that moment, you as a husband and a wife turn to the divine feminine and you nurture them with this magic word, no. And when you say that magic word, rest assured, there will be words coming out of your mouth that I can't say from the platform. Because what does a child want more than anything? Freedom. Even if it means making a horrendously large mistake. But as a parent, if you're going to nurture them, sometimes you get in there and you don't allow them to have the opportunity as long as they're in your home. They may sneak out. There's a lot of kids. How many people here as teenagers snuck out? Look at all of you. No wonder you're here. This is a place for rebels. How many here that snuck out were really good Catholics? Any of you that snuck out really good Catholics? I want you to know Catholics are notorious for sneaking out. I used to sneak out all the time. Why? Catholics had all these crazy rules. How many people, when they went to the dormitories, now, it's not like your daughters, Elaine, because today things are loose in colleges, but when I went to school, men could not have women in their dorms. It was forbidden. Any guys here ever snuck a girl in through the window? Any girls ever been through a window or let a man in the window? It happens. What is the quality there? Whatever you repress gets expressed in another way. Ooh, that's a tough one. Let's go on about this next attribute of women, to feel. This is a really big one because it's not just a woman quality or a man quality. It's truly a human quality. And I think what's happening to both men and women today is they're blocking their feelings. I think we block and numb ourselves to our feelings all the time with all the distractions that we've got. Think of social media, number one. Social media is a huge distraction. Huge distraction. We start living and thinking other people have better lives than us. In reality, everyone has a balanced life. Let's just get that on the table. As much as you could see going on in someone's life, there's the opposite. You're going to be equally challenged and supported no matter where you are. And then what do we do when we don't want to feel? Because what are our feelings? Our feelings are those things that guide us and let us know, are we on the path of our heart or are we off the path of our heart? That's what our feelings are for. So what do we do at night? We may have, well, I'll just have this glass of wine. I'll have this beer. I'll have this, I'll have that. What are we doing? We're numbing ourselves. So why? So we don't feel. Well, it's just a glass of wine. No, what's the purpose of the wine? What is the wine doing? And I'm using wine just as an example here. There's so many other things that we do. Shopping, the way we eat, you name it. We become codependent on everything in our lives instead of becoming dependent on ourselves and allowing our feelings, which are our internal guides, to guide us. Isn't that interesting? And so why then do we have partners? Our partners are there to take this cosmic 2x4 when we're not feeling and wake us up. And that's one of the beautiful things about my wife, Jean. When I go off track and I'm human just like you and I'm not tapped in, she bops me on the side of the head with the cosmic 2x4. She seems really nice. She seems really gentle, but just a little slip of that tongue, and it's like an Italian stiletto cutting you across the throat. It wakes you up. To understand. I think this is a beautiful, beautiful quality of the divine feminine. To be able to not just come from your perspective, but where is the other person coming from? To better understand, why might they be feeling the way they're feeling? Why might they be doing the way they're doing? So to understand is really an incredible thing. It's not about having a mission and a purpose in that, and then when things happen, you don't look at what's happening. No. Why are the things happening? Understand why they're happening. They're there for a reason. So seeing it from the divine feminine, that's a beautiful quality. To be empathic. Now you notice I didn't say to be sympathic or to be sympathetic. I think I just created a word with that first one, didn't I? Well, hallelujah, Jesus. Lee's an inventor. Sympathy means lowering your vibration to the vibration of people that you're with. That does nobody any good when you lower your vibration. Well, I'm lowering my vibration so they feel better. Well, wait a second. When you lower your vibration, they don't feel better. You just feel worse. When you hold your vibration, your energy where you are at a higher level of awareness, and you understand where they are, but you're not lowering your vibration, you're giving them something to look up to. You're able to reach down and give them a hand up. But when you've lowered yourself to the same level, what are you going to do? Reach a hand across and, hey, let's stay here together. There's nothing worse than staying in a big old toilet together, is there? Because that's what you're doing when you become sympathetic. And I know that a lot of spiritual leaders talk about being sympathetic. Or let's even use the word compassion. The literal definition of the word compassion is to suffer with. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be compassionate. I'm not going to suffer with you as you go through things. I will understand where you are. I will be able to see where you are and see possibly how can I support you as you uplift yourself. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about self-empowerment. Because everyone is empowered, but we keep forgetting that, and we try to take away their power by trying to fix people. You can't fix another person. Susie, have you ever tried to fix your husband, Gene? Yes? And has it ever worked? No. Just turn to Gene and say, we both have the same husband. It's a problem. You women want to fix us. What is the adage? Now, this is a generalization, so know that I'm saying this. When a man marries a woman, he doesn't want her to change. When a woman marries a man, she's going to change him. She sees his potential. His potential. Rosemary, do you see Joe's potential? Oh, yeah, she does. Look at that smile. She says, I got him. Anyway, let's move on here. It's to be intuitive. This is the big one. This is really the big one. Intuition is the wisdom coming from within us that has no rhyme or reason that is guiding us to do what we do. Do you know two of the people who talk about intuition the most that you never, ever hear about? Albert Einstein and Tesla. Two of the greatest inventors that have ever been in the world are those two people, and they will tell you that all of the great wisdom, all the great new insights came from them sitting in the silence and listening. So you know how we break myths up at Agape? We're going to break a myth right now. So do you think Thomas Edison was the great inventor that he was? Most of you will say yes. Do you realize that Thomas Edison bought the patent for the light bulb from Tesla? He took the patent, he gave it to a group of people that worked for him, and they worked on getting that light bulb. He didn't sit in a laboratory doing all that. Do you also realize that Edison never paid Tesla for the patent? Interesting, isn't it? That's why we at Agape talk about questioning everything. Don't blindly believe what society says. Here's the other thing. We've got a great holiday that just, I think, went by. Columbus Day. Columbus discovered America. Did you ever have that on a test or quiz? Most definitely. When did he discover it? 1492, didn't he? Columbus never set foot on American soil. Never set foot on American soil. Yet we blindly tout that. This is where intuition comes in. Intuition comes in and says, what is really true? Listen to it. This morning I had an intuitive hit. I said, we have a suite at Jaeger Suites. And I said, that suite is limiting to us. And all of a sudden it said to me, well, why not get a suite like 900 to 1,000 feet for during the week? So I walked in here, I went into the room over there, looked at that room, went and found out that's 900 feet. And I started to imagine, what could we do with 900 feet during the room? And then I called in Bonnie and Susie and Debbie and Brian Brickman, all board members or prior board members, and said, what do you think of the idea? And all of a sudden the lights are going on. You could see the enthusiasm. I wasn't thinking logically. I was thinking something inside me says, what can we use to do more work in the good? We could do yoga in a bigger room. We could do your sound healing in a bigger room. We could do everything in a bigger room. Think about what we could do. We could have a mini service of 70 people in a mini room and during the week. Why not be more expansive? But if you think logically says, no, hold on, we'll get one building. You know, the logical format's what holds us back from bigger things. To be creative. The divine feminine loves to create. That's why the woman, the quality of birthing a child, of creating a child, it's through the woman. And what else goes with that? It's to be receptive. Women are receptors. Men, unfortunately, and that's what's all through India. If you ever go through Indian temples, and I have been through hundreds of Indian temples, and every one of them has the idol of the Yanni and the Lingam, right? You all know what that is, right? The male and the female parts. Can I spell that out clearer? One is the giver, one is the receiver. And why they have it there is not because they're talking about sex. They're talking about that's what life is about. There's about a balance in life. There must be a giver and there must be a receiver. And you have to see that there's a balance in that. Not only is there a balance between a man and a woman, there's a balance between the psyches of the male and the female within. You have to give to yourself and you have to receive. And this is one of the things that's real important. A lot of times people are great givers and horrible receivers. A lot of times people are great receivers and horrible givers. Either way, what do you got? A one-way street. And guess what? Ain't going to work. You have to have circular energy. You have to have circular motion, or there's no flow. Why does the Dead Sea dead? Because there's no outlet. Water comes in. There's no way to go out. There has to be a way to go out because that's how the cycle works. Think about food goes in, food comes out. And if food doesn't come out, it's not fun, is it? Not going to even go there, but you already have. The next one is to forgive. And I don't mean I walk up to you and say, Angelo, I forgive you. No, forgiveness is the quality to see beyond that moment, beyond that hurt, and see that your life is in balance. Forgiveness is stopping the belief in a one-sided life and understanding that at the very moment you're challenged, you are supported, but you don't believe it and you don't see it, so you feel the challenge, and because you just feel the challenge, you feel that you're a victim. Guess what? We read this in the Science of Mind class this morning, was you cannot experience anything that you're not a vibrational match to. That's the hard part about what we teach. Whatever you're experiencing, you're a vibrational match to. And the only way to change your experience is to become a different vibration. When you become a different vibration, you become a match for different things. It was real interesting when I went to Peru, and we were in Tarapoto, which is a third world city that's all little shacks, one after the other, and there's all these bazaars in there. There were three of us going through there. The two other gentlemen were from South America. And this one guy would go through, and this woman would just hound him, begging, hound him. She had this little baby on her, and she would just hound him. This is like for an hour and a half. And finally, he blew up. Leave me alone. Da, da, da. He just exploded. And he looked at me and he watched me the rest of the day and he says, how come no one ever hounds you? Because he was hounded all day. I says, because I don't have a hound vibration. I didn't look at that woman as a problem. I just saw it as a part of life. That's what she did. That's what her thing was. And in a third world country, the baby probably wasn't even her baby. What they do in Tarapoto was known for this is the woman hires the baby and goes out and begs with the baby so they get a better take. And then at the end of the day, they give the baby back to the mother. They give the mother a little bit of the cut. And then they give, I don't know what to call them, but I'll call it the pimp. They get most of the money. The beggar doesn't get most of the money. But see, if you understand that going in, you have a different energy, and that energy will permeate from you, and you will attract not the same experience as someone that doesn't understand. Interesting story, isn't it? It's amazing when you travel the world and you experience other cultures how you get to see things differently, especially when you don't speak the language. Because when you don't speak the language, then you can witness, because you're not concerned with understanding words, because words mislead us. Also, the divine feminine is to heal. Isn't that the quality of a mother? My gosh, when I used to get sick, Mom would, first thing was, it was always an enema. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if your mother gave you an enema every time you were sick? Look at that face. She's saying, oh, Mom, I would love it so much. Please give me one this afternoon. Anyway, that's what it was. My brother and I would get sick, and we'd go hide under my parents' queen-size bed. In fact, one day she had the doctor, back then when I was growing up, this would have been 1956. I was 5 years old. I had a fever, ear infections, going like crazy. And Dr. Rockwell came over, and you know what Dr. Rockwell was famous for? Shots. And at 5, I knew that, and I hid under the bed. And my father was cussing. My mother was yelling. The doctor was saying, come on, I ain't got time. My father ended up lifting the whole friggin' bed up. I wanted my freedom. I didn't want that type of healing. But what I remember my mother for later was chicken soup. Lee got soup. Mom would make homemade chicken soup. Or she would find that way to nurture. Or she put whiskey and honey together. As a child, I loved whiskey and honey. It was really good because, wow, I'm sick and I don't care, you know? Here's the last one. It's to love. Love is the ability to bring life into perspective from the eyes of the divine, to see that life is always in balance, no matter what's happening. And everyone around us is an angel, because an angel simply means a messenger. So if someone reminds you to see life in balance, when someone reminds you to look at life a little bit differently, even if you don't like it, they're angels. They're giving you messages. So what is the purpose? The purpose of the divine feminine is to allow us to fully experience life and to balance the divine masculine in order to experience oneness. You see, without the divine feminine, you can't experience life. You're stuck in your head. And so if you're stuck in your head, you're not experiencing. But it's really it's the balance between the two. So when the mother and the father aspects of the human come together into this symbiotic union, there's perfect balance. There's perfect love. And in that moment, which is very rare, you have an experience that you cannot describe because it's a divine moment. It's the moment where you see life through the one eye and not the two. This is why they talk about the one eye in yoga, and that it's representative of seeing life through God's eyes. And in God's eyes, through one eye, God does not judge. Humans judge. Humans are the ones who see duality. God doesn't see duality because God cannot see duality, because God is infinite. For God to see duality would mean that there's something other than God, and there can't be something other than God if God is infinite. It's just math. So the question I ask you today, what part of the divine feminine have you been hiding? What part of the divine feminine are you willing to now embrace? Don't tell anyone. Just be the man or the woman who starts living from their heart. Because when you do, your heart will open, your mind will clear, and life will be beautiful. Let's pray. I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask that you go to our website, agapecsl.com. Once there, click on the donate button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. Or if you would like, text your gift by simply dialing 972-532-6976. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to you in the world. I would ask that if you like this message, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name, Lee Wolak. Again, I want to thank you for joining me in the Agape community as we learn how to better self-love through conscious living.